Attention! The video you're about to watch is based on actual events and contains highly sensitive information. About 2.5 years ago, my 23-year-old son committed suicide, ending his own life. Hi, my name is Dr. Michael J. Duckett, and the unbelievable story you're about to hear is 100% true. He didn't do it because he was psychotic or because he was addicted to some sort of drugs or alcohol. It happened because he was extremely depressed, causing me to fall into my own deep depression because of my grief. As time went on, my brain began to degenerate from the depression. An early stage of a severe memory condition, which at that time hadn't been diagnosed, caused me to become panicked and confused, coming home that day to find my son laying lifeless next to a 12-gauge shotgun was one of the most disturbing and horrifying experiences in my life, something that still gives me nightmares to this day. And it's also what sent me on a completely unforeseen 2-year-long journey through the darkest depths of the multi-billion-dollar corporate medicine universe, a journey that opened my eyes to the disturbing, destructive, greedy, and eventually lethal practices of the pharmaceutical companies, and that would eventually lead to the discovery of a completely natural, 100% effective way that supports the healthy aging process related to memory, no matter whether the one suffering was in the very late stages of such a disease, at initial onset, or simply at risk of age-related memory loss. It's a method created with the help of extensive research by some of the greatest minds in the field of neuroscience. It's already proven to be effective, and all it takes is the destruction of a simple toxic chemical in your brain, something that, until lately, was not very well understood by the scientific world, but that has now been identified as the leading cause of almost all memory-related issues. Now, in the following 5 minutes, I'll tell you exactly what this memory-destroying neuroagent is. I'll give you all of the research to support my claims, and I'll even show you the simple, inexpensive steps you can take right now to protect your brain health. But if you're ready to see just how simple it is for you, your parents, your grandparents, or any other loved one to manage your memory conditions and other memory-related illnesses, it's extremely important that you do follow along with me to the very end, because even as you watch this, Big Pharma wants to take this presentation off the internet, and they're horrified of what will happen if you find out what I'm about to share with you inside this video. Of course, honestly, they should be frightened. They'll lose billions of dollars if you and I can work together to spread this message to our friends and family. In fact, they're already starting to take a huge loss, now that many Americans just like you have used this presentation to learn the truth about memory-related conditions while acquiring the clear details of how they can completely manage the symptoms of those effects. They don't want there to be more people out there saying things like, "When I first learned about the Super Memory Formula program and it worked to manage the symptoms of memory conditions, I was in complete disbelief. I thought to myself that if something was this incredible, I would have definitely heard about it before. After watching your presentation, though, and seeing all the scientific backing this program has, I eventually thought about it again and decided to let my grandfather give this a try. He's been diagnosed with a severe memory condition for several years now. Well, Dr. Michael J. Duckett, I really can't believe how it's helped him manage his symptoms. He doesn't repeat himself anymore, or tells the same stories again and again. He's also unbelievably smart and focused, and can remember conversations we had days, weeks, and even months ago with crystal clear precision. It's given my family our grandfather back, and I'll be forever thankful for it. Brian S. of Grand Rapids, Michigan. 6 months ago, I was told by doctors I had an early onset of a severe memory condition, and even though it wasn't affecting my daily activities yet, I was still really worried of losing my memory, forgetting everything, and having to rely on someone else to take care of me. My brother recommended the Super Memory Formula program to me, and I really had nothing to lose by using it. I can't thank God enough I did. My memory is sharp and I feel great. I'm not showing any signs of my memory condition anymore, and my doctor even reversed his diagnosis, saying I'm no longer even at risk of memory conditions. This is amazing. I can't thank you enough. Fred Cunningham of Tampa, Florida. One of the most difficult things I've ever experienced in life is watching my husband suffer from memory loss. It wasn't bad at first, but over the years it progressively got worse. It was so bad he wasn't able to think on his own. It was really scary watching him go through this. He just wasn't the same person, and we were scared he was going to put his life in danger by making the wrong decisions. We were almost left with no choice but to move him to assisted living. That's before I found your Super Memory Formula program. Within a week of David, my husband, following it, things have completely changed. I feel like my husband is back and has a second chance in life. I honestly feel like someone turned back the clock to almost 20 years ago. He knows who I am. His funny personality is back. We can have long conversation now that he actually remembers. And the best part, we're in the process of moving him out of assisted living. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Lisa R. of Spokane, Washington. Those are just a few of the real-life stories from people just like you who have already used the Super Memory Formula program I'm about to share with you. Now, I'll give you all of the details on how it works in just a second. But before I do, I know you're probably curious who I am and how I discovered a way that could manage the symptoms of memory loss even in the most severe of cases. As I just mentioned, my name is Dr. Michael J. Duckett. I'm 43 years old and I live in Atlanta, Georgia. Up until a few years ago, I'd never actually thought about memory conditions or other memory-impairing illnesses. I'd always thought that when people's memories started to diminish, it was only because they were getting old. And even though I was starting to become progressively forgetful, misplacing my car keys more and more often, forgetting exact dates, repeating my favorite stories with increasing regularity, I just chalked it up to being not as young as I used to be. A few years ago, however, this is when my life was completely changed and turned upside down. The date was November 13th, 2014, and I came home from work just like it was any other day. But today, something just didn't feel right. That morning at 7:30 a.m., I left for work just as I did for the last 3 years. You see, it was my normal routine leaving for work at 7:30, since I always had to be at work by 8 a.m. My son was always home when I left because his job required him to work from 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. He was not a morning person, so he found a job where it could accommodate his sleeping schedule. I walked into his room that morning and told him have a good day, and I loved him. He was half asleep and mumbled as he always does, "I love you too." Little did I know that would be the last time I would ever hear his voice. That night when I got off work, I headed home. It was around 6 p.m., and just as I pulled up to my driveway, my heart completely sank. My son's car was still in the driveway, and he was supposed to start work at 2 p.m. I walked right up to the front door and walked in. As I entered the kitchen and set my car keys down, I could hear the sound of the television coming from his room. I thought maybe my son was sick and stayed home for the day. But what happened next was one of the most alarming and scary moments I've ever experienced, and something that still haunts me to this day. I walked into my son's room and saw his lifeless body laying in a pool of blood. My son had ended his life. I fell into a deep depression because of my grief. As time went on, my brain began to degenerate from the depression. My memory recall diminished to where I couldn't remember conversations I was having within 1 to 2 minutes after having them. I would find myself lost driving down previously known roads and streets. One night I found myself in the middle of nowhere and didn't have my cell phone with me. I forgot it at home. I didn't know where I was, and there wasn't anyone in sight. Now, after serving patients with severe memory conditions, I knew the steps needed to get checked myself. They performed cognitive tests on me for several hours. The results were hard to hear, but given what had happened to me, I was not surprised. I had severe memory loss, and the doctor said there was no way to reverse this. He filled out several prescriptions for medications and said to take them. I was traumatized. My son had always been my hero, and now he was completely gone. All I had left was memories that hopefully wouldn't fade from my mind. I thought about the cases of severe memory conditions I'd seen in other older people I knew, how they would ask their children what their names were, how they'd repeat the same sentences again and again, almost as if the conversation was mechanical, not coming from a thinking, feeling human being. I thought about my own wife, how she was about to lose her husband, how I wouldn't be there as her life progressed. I just feared I wouldn't remember her. I never thought this would be me someday, how I'd experience the same thing, whether from severe memory conditions or dementia. And I decided to do everything in my power to help fight off my own condition. I didn't care if it was irreversible. I promised myself that I would find some way to at least help slow down my deteriorating brain before it's too late. Which is why that very same week, I began spending every extra hour I could scouring through academic journals, medical publications, university library records, and online health forums. I wanted to understand what severe memory conditions were, what caused it, and how scientists were trying to manage the symptoms of it. This is the main reason why I have always worked and wanted to work in this industry. But what I quickly learned is that there didn't seem to be any straightforward solution. In fact, the more I revealed, the more confused I felt. There were so many different theories and proposed solutions out there, but none of them offered a way to manage the symptoms. There were theories out there to eat certain foods, take omega-3 oils, stuff like that. When I actually looked at the research, however, I was discouraged to see that, while some foods had been linked to a short-term boost in memory, almost none of them were actually scientifically proven to support the healthy aging process related to memory. I also found a lot of research about the effects of different common medications, but the more I uncovered about these medications, the more disturbed I became. Apparently, all of the memory condition drugs that were available were filled with chemicals that had been derived from petroleum oils, chlorides, and flammable gas. Let's look at Donepezi, for example, which is the leading memory condition drug on the market. Well, chemically, take a look at what this medication is made of. Plus minus 2,3-dihydro-5,6 dimethoxy-2 1-phenylmethyl-4 piperidinial methyl 1H-indene-1-one hydrochloride. The fact that it's extremely hard to even try and pronounce any of these chemicals should tell you everything you need to know about the cleanliness of the drug right in the title. Additionally, even though these toxins were being marketed to unwary memory condition patients and their loved ones, none of them had shown any concrete proof that it improves memory. Instead, the drug manufacturers said they helped with behavioral symptoms, and the warning label for every single one of these drugs said that they would lose their effectiveness after using them over and over again. Honestly, the more I learned, the more I felt like quitting, just walking away to the tragic reality that I was going to lose my mind for good. I thought about how the best thing would probably be to just start trying to spend as much time with my wife as possible while I was still present and aware. To even get a tape recorder and tell all my youth stories and our family history so I could share them with all our extended family down the road. But that was such a miserable, depressing thought. And so, despite my deep feelings of uncertainty, I directed every ounce of determination I had and kept pushing forward with my research. In some ways, I guess you could say that doing something here felt better than doing nothing. Well, thank God I did just that, because less than a month later, I accidentally came across a study that would change everything as we know it, that would end up giving me and many other Americans, husbands, wives, fathers, mothers, grandfathers, grandmothers, best friends, a second chance in life. It was 2 a.m. on a hot July night, and I was sitting in front of my computer like normal at a paid medical database website I'd subscribed to. I'd already searched through the site 100 times before, and more than anything, I just typed in the web address because it was so routine to me. But this time, something was different. Right there on the homepage, I saw a new study that wasn't there the day before. The title of the article was something like, Memory Conditions in Mice, How TC2153 Successfully Managed the Symptoms. My heart was pounding uncontrollably right before I clicked on the link. In my head, I was thinking, could this be the breakthrough I was looking for? The study, which had been conducted by a team of researchers at Yale School of Medicine, announced the discovery of a drug compound called TC2153, which managed the symptoms of memory conditions in mice. The way it worked was by preventing something called STEP, striatal-enriched tyrosine phosphatase, from destroying the brain's ability to create new memories and remember past ones. Now, I'd come across STEP before. It's what's called an enzyme, and it was discovered by a Yale professor 30 years ago. Since then, many studies revealed that patients with memory conditions, dementia, and other memory-related disorders possibly had high levels of STEP. And to be specific, this malicious enzyme cruelly eats away at the proteins, receptors, and kinases of your brain. In other words, it literally penetrates your brain and weakens your memories. But until this study came out, no one had ever figured out what to actually do about this memory killer. Which is why, as I read about this experimental new compound, I became more and more determined to get my hands on it so I could take it myself. And so, I got on the phone and began calling every single possible expert I could find in my field of work. Memory condition and aging experts, pharmacists, pharmaceutical researchers, chemists, you name it, I called them. And it felt like I was getting absolutely nowhere. 90% of the people I called never answered or returned my messages, and the ones who did all told me the same thing. It's unheard of to do what you're asking, they said. The drug compound you're referring to is created through an extremely advanced chemical process, and you'd need a multi-million-dollar lab to create it. Not only that, but you'd then be making a drug that would need to be run through a decade of clinical trials, be subject to government regulation, and ultimately be approved by the pharmaceutical companies themselves. In maybe 10 years or so, a drug like this might reach the market if it gets approved and if the pharmaceutical companies decide that they want to even market it. We're sorry about your declining memory, but there's really nothing we can do. That's what they said, time and time over again. And each time it was like receiving a punch in the gut. It was truly exasperating. If the scientific community and pharmaceutical corporations already knew about something that could possibly manage the symptoms of memory conditions, dementia, and other memory-related illnesses, something that would give the ones we love their lives back, and that would help their brain from going into everlasting erase mode, while giving them the control to make new, joy-filled memories well into their 80s, 90s, even 100s, why were we not doing everything in our control to get this to the public as quickly as possible? It started to drive me absolutely nuts. I could barely sleep because of this. My mind was so preoccupied that I could barely pay attention to anything going on in my daily life. Which is why I decided to do something really crazy that almost caused my wife to divorce me, but that eventually greatly improved my memory, making me sharper and more mentally focused than someone half my age. I took out another mortgage on my home and then wrote an emotional letter which I posted to all of the top scientific community forums and websites on the internet. In all, I shared my son's story, how desperate my pursuit was to get help for myself, and most importantly, that if a fully qualified expert could help me to figure out a way to legally and safely recreate the TC2153 compound, I would pay them $300,000 in cold hard cash for their time and effort. Well, within a few days, More than 200 people responded and emailed me back. But as I sifted through message after message, it seemed that while a lot of the candidates did have the knowledge I was looking for, they simply didn't understand what I was trying to do. In fact, out of the more than 200 people, there was only one that really stood out to me. It was from a man named Mr. Gerstein, who worked as an independent medical researcher for 30 years and had written extensively on aging and STEP. But it wasn't his experience that caught my attention. It was what he wrote in the email. I know you've worked very hard to acquire a great deal of research in this area. I'm assuming you understand that producing an actual drug would be almost impossible. The foundations required to make this compound synthetically is extremely costly, and furthermore, come from harmful chemicals like oil derivatives, gasoline derivatives, and other things you don't want in your body. But here's the good news. It's my firm belief that you don't need to manufacture synthetic chemicals in order to halt the devastating consequences of STEP. The same elements that are in TC-2153 can be found all over nature. In other words, my prediction is that a simple combination of all natural ingredients found in nature would create the same natural reaction in the brain as would this chemical drug. It would be completely safe, and it would weaken STEP while acting as a natural brain intensifier. Here's my contact information. Call me if you'd like to discuss further. Well, you better believe that I was on the phone with Mr. Gerstein seconds after reading his email. Within 24 hours, I flew him out to see me, and later that week, we rented out a small lab space at the community college near my house. And then, for 3 agonizing months, the two of us worked around the clock to see if Mr. Gerstein's theory was right. Our first breakthrough came when we realized that there were really only 3 parts to TC-2153 that would need to be combined to get the memory-saving results we were searching for. The first was trifluoromethyl, which sounds intimidating, but is actually contained in carboxylic acids which are found in certain fruit juices and nectars. The second was benzyl alcohol, which could be found in fruits, teas, essential oils, even flowers. And the third was amine hydrochloride, which, again, sounds like something scary, but is actually found in certain types of salt. So, that was big, because we'd now isolated the different components we'd need to kick STEP's butt. But the next part was figuring out how to get them to naturally react together. Mr. Gerstein had different models, but it still took more than 2 months of testing along with around 130 failures. Until we finally discovered what appeared to be the answer we'd been looking for, which is that by adding in a simple nutrient found in a select group of fruits and vegetables, even certain types of beets and lettuces, we could activate a compound, something that would, in theory, naturally, safely, and immediately create a mimic of TC-2153 and kick STEP's butt. But while this second discovery was exhilarating, we still weren't done, because the third step was to package everything together in a simple and easy-to-follow guide, something that I could follow on my own, even if my memory was fading, and even if I was having more and more trouble performing simple tasks. And that wasn't going to be expensive or be filled with exotic ingredients that would send my wife or I on a wild goose chase to grocery store after grocery store, which is why we took another full 2 weeks to list out every single fruit, vegetable, oil, drink, and flower extract that made up the natural formula we were creating. We then put them into 4 different groups. Group T for trifluoromethyl, Group B for benzyl alcohols, Group A for the amine chlorides, Group C for the compound we discovered. Under each group, we listed all the natural food items that had this particular component, and then we went a step further and made explicit instructions for the portion of each group to consume at the same time. If it sounds like this might be confusing, don't worry. It's quite simple. For example, here's what using this system for yourself might look like on any given day. 2 ounces of any fruit or vegetable in Group T, 4 ounces of any of the juices, teas, or oils in Group B, 1 teaspoon of one of the salts from Group A, 1 ounce of any fruit, vegetable, or extract from Group C. Eat or drink all 3 within a 15-minute time period at noon or early afternoon. And that's it. Of course, while this all seemed like it would work perfectly, we still had to actually test it out. I was a bit skeptical about the whole thing, to be honest. Even though I knew what I'd been working on, I more or less had already given up hope and accepted that my mind would soon be nothing but a hollow shell. Even though I was a bit skeptical, I had faith. I owed this to my wife. Over the next few days, nothing seemed to change. I mean, at least it was hard to tell because even though I had early stages of a severe memory condition, it wasn't like I was completely gone yet. So, even though my wife informed me that I hadn't been forgetting anything or seemed at all confused, we couldn't really know if that was a result of the natural prescription I'd taken. But as we passed day 10, we began seeing results that were more and more encouraging. I told my wife I felt more like myself than I had felt in years. I was so excited I couldn't wait and called her at work to even tell her about it. I said I was feeling really sharp and focused, and I told her I could explain what exactly the science was behind the program I was on, which of course I did. And by day 21, I really seemed to be firing on all cylinders. I mean, I was just so sharp. I was remembering conversations we'd had a few days ago, a few months ago, and even years ago. My wife was beyond impressed. It was an amazing and noticeable change in my demeanor, according to my wife. But of course, it still didn't really mean my memory condition was depleted, and we had to be sure. So both Mr. Gerstein and I drove with my wife back to the physician's office and waited for nearly 8 hours while I underwent all sorts of cognitive tests. And it was only then, as the physician read the results in disbelief, did we really, truly start to think that just maybe what we created had worked. The results of these tests are absolutely remarkable, the doctor said. I've never seen anything like them. Not only do you show nearly non-existent signs of this memory condition, even early onset, you actually demonstrate a higher capacity for memory recall and cognitive function than 90% of all the patients I see, even more so than totally healthy kids in their early 20s. What did you guys do? How is this even possible? Well, we explained what we'd done to the physician, and he was so impressed, he actually asked if we could give him a copy of the exact plan we'd made so he could share it with his family members and patients. Of course, we said yes. And over the months that followed, not only did I maintain unbelievable levels of mental sharpness and memory retention, so did the dozens, then hundreds of other people who were given this program, until it reached a point where the phone calls and emails from complete strangers who'd been given our program by a friend or a doctor or someone they didn't even know became so overwhelming that Mr. Gerstein and I realized that we had a civil duty to share this simple memory restoration program with as many people as we possibly could. At first, we contacted several pharmaceutical companies, and every single one of them told us they'd manufacture this for us, provided we agreed to one very important condition, which was that we didn't tell anybody else about what we discovered after they'd paid us. And when we asked them what they were going to do with the program once we did sell it to them, none of them would tell us anything. We couldn't get any assurance they'd actually share our discovery with the public, and in fact we thought it was much more likely that they would just hide this information away from the world forever. I mean, why would they want to offer a way to manage the symptoms of memory conditions, dementia, and pretty much every other memory-related illnesses in the world when they could keep making billions per year managing it? So, even though they were offering me enough money to pay off the other mortgage on my house and pay Mr. Gerstein the $300,000 I promised. I simply couldn't, in good faith, let these drug cartels get their hands on this, which is why I decided to take this memory-saving method direct to the public. I hired my brother-in-law to help me make this website, created the presentation that you're watching right now, and packaged the entire program into something that can be accessed directly from your computer, smartphone, or tablet, or downloaded, or printed out and given to a loved one. Mr. Gerstein and I called it the Super Memory Formula Program. Get ready to effectively manage the symptoms of any memory condition, dementia, and any other memory loss-related illnesses. The reason the program works is that it mimics the different components of an experimental compound that has already been shown to manage the symptoms of memory loss. The difference, however, is that you won't need any drugs or be putting any dangerous chemicals in your body. Instead, you are simply given 4 different lists of 100% natural foods, drinks, nutrients, oils, etc. You are then shown how to combine all 4 of them once per day in order to attack the step in your brain, which is the enzyme that's responsible for destroying memories. Remember, like I said earlier, it's really actually quite simple. If you or your loved one can combine lettuce, tomatoes, cheese, and dressing in a bowl to make a salad, you can use the Super Memory Formula Program. Here's the example I used earlier, just to illustrate exactly how easy it is to follow this program. 2 ounces any fruit or vegetable in Group T, 4 ounces of any of the juices, teas, or oils in Group B, 1 teaspoon of one of the salts from Group A, 1 ounce of any fruit, vegetable, or extract from Group C. Eat or drink all 3 within a 15-minute time period at noon or early afternoon. Inside the guide, you're also shown the exact portions of each item you're consuming, and you're told when per day to consume them. The great thing is, because there are a lot of different options for each group, you'll never feel like you're eating the same thing over and over again. There are literally hundreds of combinations, and each one will still create the internal reaction that's needed to target, step, and block it from deleting human memories. Plus, all of these different options are things you can buy at any grocery store for a few dollars. In fact, the total you'll probably end up paying is about $25 for all of the items you need to support a healthy memory. And because this program addresses memory deterioration at the root, it's perfect for anyone, from severe memory condition patients to those who just want to have a safeguard in place. To date, many Americans, just like you, have already used the Super Memory Formula Program personally or shared it with a loved one, and across the board, the results are incredible. Here's what some of them are saying. I was told I had severe memory loss and tried numerous experimental medications prescribed by my doctor. None of them worked, and my condition worsened. My daughter told me about your Super Memory Formula Program. I tried it, and in 30 days, I was amazed. Further testing showed my cognitive function improved significantly. This program is a miracle. Becky Livingston. I never had a good memory, but as I got older, I had a hard time remembering things. I constantly lost my keys and glasses. I couldn't follow simple conversations without constantly dropping off right in the middle of talking. I was told, this is just part of getting older. I was only 45. My friend said she had a similar problem and started using your program. I went out on a leap of faith and gave your program a try because of this. Thank God I did, because my memory seems to be better than ever. Jenny Bradmore. After losing my wife, my depression started to affect my memory. I couldn't remember simple things and would forget everything unless I wrote it down. I would frequently get lost driving to simple places. I thought I might have come down with a severe memory condition, but my doctor said it was brain degeneration due to chronic depression. I thought there would be no hope and I would have to live with it. My sister heard about this super memory formula program and bought it for me. Within 1 week, my depression started to get better and my brain health. Thank you again, John Davenport. Now, given everything the super memory formula program is packed with, it should be pretty obvious that there's nothing else like this in existence. Inside it, you're shown a completely natural and 100% effective way for managing the symptoms of any memory condition, dementia, and many other terrible memory-destroying illnesses. It will possibly bring your loved ones back to you, even if you thought they were too far gone, and you'd already accepted that you'd never have a truly meaningful conversation with them again. It will possibly protect you, your parents, and your grandparents, and all the others in your life whom you hold dear from losing their memories, whether it's from aging or a condition or illness. Remember, scientists universally agree that STEP is the culprit in almost every single case of memory loss, and this program creates the natural reaction inside your body that will go to war against this STEP and diminish it from eating away at your loved one's memories. No more painful conversations, or worrying about whether someone you care deeply for can live on their own, or whether their minds are starting to go. No more pain at seeing those same people struggling, or to remember their own birthdays or where they placed the keys or belongings. The Super Memory Formula program is the only thing of its kind in existence. Of course, there are medications out there. However, even the pharmaceutical companies admit that they don't actually help heal or restore memory. Instead, they're nothing but behavioral drugs that turn your loved ones into mechanical robots. And even the short-term boost to behavior really is just that, short. Donepezi is openly acknowledged to not slow the progression of memory conditions. Galantamine is not only unproven, but only thought to have benefits for 36 months max. Not to mention the ingredients in these drugs are crazy. They're made from oil derivatives, gasoline derivatives, and other toxins that poison the liver and shorten the life expectancy of the one taking them. Or that the average cost of these drugs is between $200 to $400 per month outside of what insurance pays. Another option might be to put your loved one in a nursing home. But not only is this a horrifying decision, an acknowledgement that you're giving up on them, that you're accepting their life is pretty much over. The average cost for just a semi-private room in an assisted living facility is $80,000 per year, or about $220 per day. If you're lucky, about half of that might be covered by insurance. But you're still looking at either coming out of your own pocket for nearly $40,000 per year, which places an unthinkable huge financial burden on your family, or burning through your loved one's lifelong savings, taking the money they've carefully built up over the course of a lifetime and practically giving it away to glorified babysitters. Even as they walk the halls or enter the common room like robots, on all kinds of medications, unsure of where they are and struggling to recognize the face of you or your kids or grandkids or even their friends. One final option is that you or your loved ones could start consuming memory-boosting foods like omega-3 fish oils. Sure, they may help with short-term memory when you're completely healthy, but ultimately, they'll do nothing to prevent the onset of dementia or memory conditions, or to combat these illnesses once they've taken hold. So, really, it should be clear that none of these are real options for managing the symptoms of memory conditions, which is why initially I was going to sell people the Super Memory Formula program for $379. That's less than the cost of 2 days in assisted living and less than the cost of 2 months' worth of memory condition medications. And it'll give you or your loved ones your life back by expelling the enzyme that's almost exclusively responsible for memory loss. When you think about all of that, it should be pretty clear why both I and the many Americans who've already used this program personally think that $379 is a steal. But I'm not giving you this mind-saving method to get rich, and this isn't about money. I've seen firsthand how using the Super Memory Formula program helped me, how I can now create new memories with my wife, how I'm able to enjoy and remember all of the wonderful things in life, and how I don't have to lose sleep at night worrying about whether or not I'll get lost at the grocery store or suffer any other embarrassing experience. Which is why I'm not going to ask you to pay anywhere near the $379 I was initially going to price this at, or even $289, or $189, or heck, even $79. Instead, and only while this website remains online, which may not be that long given the incredible threat it poses to big pharmaceutical companies, you'll be able to get the entire program, the food lists, the groupings, the daily portions, the instructions for combining each item, the eating schedules, everything, for the small and 100% risk-free investment of $69. To get started, simply click the Buy Now button you see right below this presentation, and you'll then be taken to the secure checkout page I've set up. Then, just enter your information, submit your order, and you'll immediately be given unrestricted access to the entire Super Memory Formula program through the special members-only website I've created. You can view the guides, the lists, the schedules, everything right on your computer, your smartphone, or your tablet. You can also download them or print out as many copies as you want. And the instructions for how to use the program are so incredibly clear, you or your loved one will have absolutely no issues with following them. Like I said, if you can put 4 ingredients in a bowl to make a salad, you can do this. Plus, your small but life-changing investment today will also be covered by a full 60-day money-back guarantee. Here's how it works. You simply say maybe to the Super Memory Formula program today by clicking the Buy Now button below. Once you've done that, use this for yourself and share them with your loved ones immediately. And if anyone who uses it isn't 100% happy with the results they will see, you simply send me an email using the address I'll provide you in the Members Only section, and I'll immediately refund your entire purchase with no questions asked. Plus, even though pretty much every single one of the many people who've already used this program has reported dramatic, life-changing results in 3 weeks or less, you still have a full 60 days to decide whether or not the Super Memory Formula program is for you or not. I'm taking all the risk here, and it doesn't bother me one bit. Like I've already said, this is about giving your loved ones their memories back, while ensuring that you can create new memories with them for years to come. If I wanted to get rich, I could go sell this to Big Pharma and retire tomorrow. But I have zero interest in doing so. Instead, I want to help as many people as I can, which means making it as easy as possible for you to try this today. So, go ahead and say maybe by clicking the Buy Now button below right now. The decision should be easy, but if you're ready to make it, you need to act quickly. The pharmaceutical drug companies are furious that I've made this website, and the tone of our conversations is starting to shift significantly. They're no longer being nice when we talk. They're starting to tell me that if I don't take this website down or sell this program to them, they'll come after me with everything they've got. And as soon as they do that, I'll be forced to remove Super Memory Formula program from the web. I don't want to have to do that. But They have billions of dollars and are practically immune from the law, which means the moment they truly threaten me, I'll have to put my family's safety first by deleting this site. So I'm urging you, don't let Big Pharma win. Don't let them keep this from you. Don't let them keep you or your loved ones from getting their memories back. Don't let them keep you or your loved ones reliant upon their drugs, or on nursing homes, or on your constant and humiliating babysitting. This presentation is over, and the choice is yours. But I think it should be pretty clear what you need to do. Sincerely, Dr. Michael J. Duckett. Hey, it's Michael again. Don't be alarmed. There's just one more thing I want to do for you since you're still on this page. You see, I get a lot of questions from people who watch this presentation for the first time. And I found that while they are pretty amazed by what they've just discovered, they still want a quick review of the presentation. So, let me go ahead and answer some of the most common questions people ask me right here, so you know exactly what you're getting with the Super Memory Formula program today. 1. How and why does the Super Memory Formula program work? Well, the way this program works is pretty simple actually. When you have a memory condition, dementia, or other memory illnesses, an enzyme called STEP is actually destroying the neural pathways in your brain. You can think of STEP as a vacuum. It sucks away those memories at an increasingly rapid rate. Fortunately, scientists have now also discovered an experimental compound that can destroy STEP and help it from killing your memories. The Super Memory Formula program gives you a list of foods, drinks, teas, oils, things like that, which, when combined in the proper way, mimic this experimental compound. There are many advantages to doing it this way. First of all, it's completely natural and safe, whereas the experimental drug that scientists use is made from dangerous chemicals and may have major side effects. Second of all, it's really inexpensive. All you're doing is combining these different items in a specific way, which I show you how to do inside the program. 2. Who will the Super Memory Formula program work for? This will possibly work for anyone who has a memory condition or who's even at risk of a memory condition. Because STEP is the overwhelming cause of all the major memory diseases and conditions, by stopping the progression of this evil enzyme, you help your memories from being deleted. So it doesn't matter whether the person using this program has early onset of a severe memory condition or is in the later stages. It also doesn't matter if they have mild dementia or severe dementia. It always slows down the progression of STEP. It's also great as a preventative measure. You or your loved one likely won't initially realize that STEP is starting to inflict destruction on your brain, and it can build up for years before it really begins to affect your life. But with the Super Memory Formula program, this STEP is deleted. 3. What exactly is included in the program? Once you've clicked the Buy Now button you see below this screen, you'll get instant access to the entire program. That includes a comprehensive list of all the foods, drinks, oils, and other sources of the 4 components you need to imitate TC2153. All of these items are combined into 4 different components, and you'll also be shown exactly how to combine them to create the internal reaction needed to destroy STEP. You'll also be given the exact portions of each item to be combined with other items and be told what time of day to use the method for best results. The best part is that because there are several items listed in each category, you have hundreds of combinations, which means that destroying STEP through this program never gets monotonous or repetitive. 4. What kind of results can I expect to see? Many people have now used the Super Memory Formula program, and the results have been outstanding. The person using this program should see a dramatic improvement in mental clarity and sharpness, along with significantly better mental recollection. 5. How long will this program be available for? I can't give you an exact answer here. I wanted to stay up forever. However, the pharmaceutical companies are trying to take this website down as we speak. That means you really should get this program right now, especially since there's zero risk to you, as I'll explain in a second. 6. What's with that guarantee again? So, the reason there is no risk is that you have a full 60 days to try this super memory formula program for yourself. Whether it's you personally or you're getting this for a loved one, it doesn't matter. Simply follow the guide, combine the items, use the instructions. If for any reason over the next 2 months you're not satisfied, you simply send me an email. I'll provide my address inside, and I'll immediately refund your entire investment with no questions asked. 7. How do I get started? To get started, just click the Buy Now button below. Do that now, and you or a loved one can start experiencing life-changing results in as little as 30 minutes from now.